So guys, holy crap. As I got a Snapchat notification. We haven't done this show in a while. We haven't done this show in a long time. Since like August, probably.
Yeah.
But we're here. We're here for the very first edition of the NASCAR Pit Stop Show 2021. Hello guys, I'm Leonard, your host for this show ever since 2016 when it was known as the End of the Way podcast, then to the WLA podcast, what is currently now known as the NASCAR Pit Stop Show. Honestly, this show has evolved a lot over the years, but this show is kind of like NASCAR Hot Take, except extended out a little bit longer, and you got other panelists in here that are also going to give their opinions and thoughts. Like, for instance, you got these three fine gentlemen over here, which I really think you guys already know who I am. You may not know these three. So, let's introduce them. Starting off with this guy, Mr. Rock and Roll Fan.
Hello, kids.
That is like the worst intro I've ever seen.
I think that was the best intro.
No. Just so you know, that was recorded. That's what you're gonna be known by.
Okay, let's move on.
Just to show you how this is done, let's start off with this guy, the Cowboy. Oh no.
You said three gentlemen. I only seen like two, and then just a weird Sean R over here.
Boy!
His mic faded out, but this is Wyatt Walker, and as you can see, his favorite driver is Martin Truex.
Yeah.
It actually did fade out.
Yeah, it
Serious.
did. Sure it did.
Yes, we're serious. It faded.
It faded out. just when it was.
Do you want me to do it again?
It's try it again. It looks like it was actually a little bit better.
C19 fans, and you said there's like two good looking people in here. Well, I only see two, and then there's a weird Sean R.
Boy! Boy!
That boy was not so enthusiastic. Next up, we got this guy. Green shirt, drinking water and everything. Making sure he's hydrated.
I'm hydrated, but hello everybody, I'm Sean R. And I'm going to come straightforward. I don't have a favorite driver as of right now.
Taylor, would you like a shot of redemption?
For what exactly?
Your introduction.
Yes, I kind of stuck my tongue out the first time, goofing off a little bit. But yes, the light is putting a really bad glare on the camera, but I am wearing this Chase Elliott hat. And I am wearing this championship shirt from Kyle Busch a few years ago. And yes, I like multiple drivers, so.
What's your name?
Tell us who you are!
And I am Zachary Taylor.
There you go. So that's the four of us. I feel like I don't need to make an introduction because you already know who I am, because I have been in every single one of these videos since the very first video back in 2019 at the very tail end of my high school senior year. But anyways, we're going to get things kind of rolling. So for those of you who don't know, what we used to do over the course of the last few years is we would sit down, we would recap a race from start to finish and talk about literally every single detail of the race and review the top 10 and then talk about our thoughts on the weekend, and then give a grade, and then go over breaking stories, and then look ahead, and then predictions, and etc. Not this year. Not this year. It's going to be different. Mostly the same, but somewhat different. We're not going to recap every single bit of the race. We're just simply going to give our thoughts. Because I think that it's going to be more simplified, and I think it's going to go faster than literally just have to waste 20 minutes up to an hour of your time to try to recap every single race. So we're going to simplify it down so that way we can actually get our thoughts on what happened, what were some key moments that we really liked in the race, what were some things that we wish could have been better, and just go from there, grade the weekend, and then get on into the breaking stories. So that's going to be different this year. So I think it's going to be a really big year for 2021, seeing as how this is going to be the last year for the Generation 6, but also on top of that, we do have some other drivers that are coming up to the Cup Series and also kind of going a little bit of everywhere, especially some other drivers in the Cup Series going from one spot to another, which we'll get to in our first bit of news, just to kind of recap on for silly season. A big one to me is a lot of what's going on at JGR, starting off with Christopher Bell, who's gone over from Levine Family Racing, that is just recently shut down, to replace Eric Jones at Joe Gibbs Racing, which Jones goes over to Richard Petty Motorsports to drive the 43. Seeing as how that change just took place this past year, how do you think the performance on Christopher Bell is going to be this year, now that he's going into his second full-time year, this time driving for a team that he is familiar with?
Saying if it's going to be like anything like his impressive Xfinity Series run, like the last 2 years, he had really great success in the Xfinity Series, and he done pretty. His first few races in the beginning of 2020 in the Cup Series didn't do all that well, but after the whole pandemic crap thing happened, he ended up doing pretty well. I believe he ended up getting his career best third at the second Texas race, so I feel like he's getting used to the car, and when he move back to the 20 in the Cup Series, I say back like he was in the 20 Xfinity Series, now he's going back to the 20 Cup Series. Yeah. I feel like he's going to do really well, and from one Okie to another Okie, I'd say good luck, man. I hope you get a win or two, Mr. Crazy Shawnard.
First off, don't call me crazy.
Yeah, you're crazy.
Second off, I think I'd like to see how Bell's gonna do this upcoming season in the 20 car. Yes, he did well in Xfinity, but this is his second full time in the Cup Series, so I'm not expecting big things like he was down in Xfinity. I'm expecting something less than Xfinity Series levels.
Right.
Taylor?
How about you, Taylor?
Well, Christopher Bell, I think, was able to learn a few things with Levine Family Racing last year. And, most definitely, I mean, he did do really good at times in that 95 car. So, despite the fact that 95 did have a little bit of JGR equipment under the hood and everything, but I think he's going to do really well in that 20 car. I think he's really going to come in and really just tear up the racetrack, to be honest with you. I would not be surprised to see him go on a winning streak, kind of like Kevin Harvick did last year. I would not be surprised to see that whatsoever.
I wouldn't be too bit of surprised if that were to happen. But here's the difference between the Xfinity car and a Cup car. An Xfinity car is basically sort of similar to what kind of like your mid-2010s Generation 6 car was, with the low downforce and having the car being more in the driver's hands. With a Cup car, it's a little different. It's high downforce, it's pedal to the metal, throttle basically all the way down to the floor, all the way around the track, and just it's more the racing honestly is just more closer, and both cars handled differently. So when you put Bell in a Cup car, sure, he does really good. But I just don't think that as far as the level that he's at right now, I don't think he's going to go on the same type of winning spree as he did in Xfinity back in the past. I don't think he's going to win at least like 20 what feels like Xfinity races in 2 years. But I think he'll probably get 3 or 4 wins this year. Seen as, because like I said, he's at a different level. He's with a better team. He's back with Joe Gibbs Racing, where he's familiar with, the team that he's familiar with. And I think he'll do really good this year. But I just don't think it's going to be the same Xfinity Series caliber that he once was at in 2018 and 2019. Uh-oh. But okay. Anyways, that was a little bit of awkwardness. Wyatt, you said something, but it didn't quite come through because like your mic faded out.
Again.
Sean's fault.
Oh, there it is.
You can blame me.
Jeez.
Yes, he
Oh
did.
my gosh. Jeez. So,
If it's anybody's fault, it's Taylor's.
my gosh. So moving on along with some of the silly season stuff, continuing with Joe Gibbs Racing. You now move down to the Xfinity Series, where you have Daniel Hemrick. He's going to be driving the 18 car full-time this year, replacing Riley Herbst. As happy as I am for Hemrick that he's going to get another shot at full-time in the Xfinity Series, this also could be another big year for Riley Herbst. Because, yes, it's sad to see that he got let go from the 18 car to give way to Daniel Hemrick, but he's able to now go to Stewart-Haas Racing to drive the 98, replacing Chase Briscoe, who has graduated up to the Cup Series for Stewart-Haas to drive the 14 car. But as far as Herbst, I think Herbst is going to probably have the same year that he had last year. I mean, just quiet, consistent, not really. I think he'll be in the picture just a little bit more now that he's in a Stewart-Haas car, because let's be honest, an SHR car in the Xfinity Series has just been outstanding. But I just don't think it's going to be the same as Chase Briscoe. The kind of runs that he was able to put together this past year by getting 9 wins. It's just, I just don't see it with Herbst. So, just in my honest opinion, he is going to have a similar year. I think he might have just a skosh of a better year. He might be in the picture a little bit more, but as far as him winning, he might get probably 1 or 2 wins. Definitely nowhere near the same kind of luck or really season that Briscoe had last year. What do you guys think?
I'm putting that out here. If Riley Herbst ever wants to have that many wins, I'm just now thinking about this. He may have to wait at least 3 years. I say that. Just think about the last 2 Stewart-Haas full-time drivers in the Xfinity Series, Cole Custer and Chase Briscoe. It took them about like three seasons in order for them to get about at least close to 9 wins a season.
Right.
Think about that. I'm just not thinking about that because Cole Custer took him a couple seasons until 2019 to get how many wins with Bell and Reddick all together, and then he got Chase Briscoe.
Yeah.
He ain't going to get that many wins right off the bat. He's not. If he stays with Stewart-Haas for a couple years, he will. He may end up getting that way. But right now, I'll be surprised if I see him get a win.
Right. Sean?
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Wyatt was saying there. I don't expect Riley Hurts just to go crazy immediately. I expect maybe 3 to 5 seasons down the line, him going and performing very well. But for right now, as where he's at, I think this is a good start to maybe get one win. That's where I'm just thinking he might get.
Yeah.
Taylor?
Well, most definitely. It was an interesting move by Stewart Haas Racing to bring Riley Herbst over into that 98 car. With him struggling at JGR last year. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how Riley does in that 98 car. I think he will possibly be a little competitive this year and maybe get a win or two, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. So, moving on with like some things that could be like added on to like a silly season recap. You have Colleague Racing, which I think was rumored to run a partial cup schedule. Turns out, as of today, January 8th, 2021, that has been confirmed that they are going to run a partial cup schedule. Now, what I'm thinking for this is that they may have just one car for all three of their drivers individually that they can share. It could be Justin Haley, Jeb Burton, and also AJ Allmendinger driving that car. Kind of like they'll share it like throughout the year, or they could just have it for only Justin Haley. I have no clue what they're what their plans are. I didn't really look into the article just yet until I actually learn a little bit more about it. But this actually is something that's pretty good. That's good news for Colleague, because you look at where they've been at like 5 years ago. This team just kind of popped up out of nowhere 5 years ago. They got into the championship, not the championship for it, but they came close with Blake Cook. But then they brought Blake back for the 2017 season. They didn't do as well as they did in 2016, but they fared pretty decently. And then they brought Ryan Truex in, who also kind of was just quiet. Had a mediocre season. But then they brought Justin Haley in, and oh my gosh, that team just took off. They even added a second car part-time for Ross Chastain, which was the 10 car. Then they gave that ride to Allmendinger Daytona and made a third car for Ross, the 16. And
he won that race,
and Colleague actually had a pretty good night. They could have
finished
good
1,
night.
2, 3. Exactly. They have 1, 2, 3.
And it would have been official had Allmendinger not gotten a penalty post-race. But you can't take that away from them. It's still a pretty good accomplishment. And then last year, Justin Haley's like spectacular, like sweeping 3 out of the 4 plate races, and Allmendinger winning on an oval, and also winning on the road courses. Yeah, road courses, because you had the Roval. Oh no, he just won Roval and Atlanta. Just 2 wins last year, but still, you can't take away the fact that Colleague had just an unbelievable year last year, and I think this year might be the same caliber, if not better. Now that they've got 3 cars full time now, with Allmendinger, Haley, and now Jeb Burton, who now joins the team. And honestly, out of all the people that we could have expected to go to the 10 car, it's Jeb Burton. No one really expected Jeb Burton to be a pick to go to Colleague Racing to drive the 10 car, replacing Ross Chastain, who goes over to the 42 car in the Cup Series. And we'll talk about Ross here in a second, just of how unbelievable it is to see him in the 42 finally. But focusing back in on Colleague, I think this year is going to be a really good year for them. Seeing as how just the lineup is, you got some unbelievable talent behind the wheel. And you even got Jeff Burton in there, as I said, who is finally going to be able to show what he is capable of doing. We've seen it in the 8 car for Junior Motorsports. We've seen it even when he was with Nice Motorsports at times. But now he's with Colleague, and that team has actually been on a rise. And I think they're going to have themselves just as good, if not better, season than what they did last year. What are your thoughts?
Same time, it didn't surprise me. He's always been trying to look for that full-time ride, trying to find a job, and this is honestly a great place for him to go. And for AJ Allmendinger being back full-time in the 16, that was really good. He did a lot. He did really good in the 16 when he did part-time for them. It didn't surprise me when they added a third car.
Yeah.
Justin Haley, he's been on the roll every single time we raced him. It would not surprise me if he won the first Daytona race when we get back to Daytona.
Yeah.
And on the mentioning about them getting up in the Cup Series doing part time, I like the idea of them like having different drivers for different tracks, despite which race schedule it is. I'm kind of stuttering a little bit, but oh well. I kind of have a theory on that, and I think you guys might agree with me.
Yeah.
If they do like some super speedways, the most likely they're going to do the road courses. Let's just be honest here. They're definitely going to do road courses. Let's be honest.
They probably would do road courses as well for Allmendinger.
Exactly. So and maybe some oval tracks. And here's my theory. Like we said, the road courses. Who do we think is going to get it? Allmendinger, the road course person. I feel like he might be up there, batting up there in the Cup Series again for part time. Why not? Let him run some races, and then we have Haley super speedway races, maybe an oval or two.
Yeah,
and Jeb. Maybe we'll see Jeff Burton back in the Cup Series since 2016 when he ran the 26 for BK.
Well, 2015 he ran the 26.
Oh, it was 2015? Didn't he?
Yeah.
I thought he was also...
No, I'm trying to think. I wonder... I think that was the only other year that he ran full-time in Cup. That was 2015. I'm trying to think if there was any other year.
I don't remember what other year they did something with him out there in the Cup Series.
Championship. There may be a stretch, but I feel like they play their cards right. Hell, all three make it maybe in the playoffs and maybe end up like Joe Gibbs Racing in the Cup Series in 2019. All three race. I know it's a stretch. It may not happen, but I'm just saying how good they are and stuff. It would not surprise me. Sean?
All right. I'm gonna say it's gonna be they're gonna improve from last year, but I'm not gonna say that they're gonna be so dominant that they're gonna do well in not just Xfinity but do well in their part times up in Cup. I'm gonna say that they're gonna do well at certain places and maybe one or two of them could be in the playoffs in the Xfinity Series going for the title. And we'll maybe have one of them go to the championship for it and have a shot for the title. Taylor?
All right.
Most definitely. I mean, Colleague most definitely has gotten way better over the past couple years, and just seeing how much better they were performing last year was just absolutely kind of surprising, but yet at the same time it wasn't. But I think they're going to have a really good year in Xfinity, and I would not be surprised to see a Colleague car or two get in the Final Four for the championship, and them going to Cup and running a few races, I think will be very interesting to see how they will do the driver lineup. And I would imagine they'll probably have Haley in there for the restrictor plates and Allmendinger in there for the road courses, but maybe even Jeff Burton.
Right. So, all right. Sean did leave, by the way. So, for now. But here's another piece of news. And this is something that I kind of was questioning a little bit as soon as it was announced. And I can kind of see why it is just like, I'm confused by this as well. But Anthony Alfredo.
Yep.
Anthony Alfredo, if you remember last year, ran a part-time schedule in Xfinity for Richard Childress Racing. And let's be honest, he actually did very, very good. Mm-hmm. But now that John Hunter Nemechek is out of a ride in the Cup Series, this has opened the door for Anthony Alfredo to take that ride. And this has been rumored for a little while, but a couple days ago, this was confirmed. So now, the driver lineup for the Cup Series is not only Michael McDowell, but now Anthony Alfredo joins the lineup. And honestly, I kind of think, I mean, this is a good thing for Alfredo. I mean, like, I'm happy for him that he's in the Cup Series. But the only head-scratching thing like thing that I'm trying to wonder is like, of course there was an opportunity to go up to the Cup Series. Why choose Front Row Motorsports? Because, like, don't get me wrong, they're actually a really good team, like sort of like a C+ team, if anything. But I just don't know how well Front Row FRM and Anthony Alfredo, I don't know if that's gonna mix. Maybe he could have voice crack, by the way. Maybe he could have kind of like a similar year to what John Hunter Nemechek did, but then again, he may not. I don't know. What do you guys think?
You're saying there? My concern is, like, I would never thought Anthony Alfredo would gotten that ride. But here's another thing you need to point out where between, like, him and John Hunter Nemechek were different. Nemechek had a full-time ride in Xfinity. At least one, and had some more Xfinity series experience. And also, welcome back, Sean Hard. But Alfredo only did part-time in RCR. I'm not sure. Of all the drivers who've gone had the rookie season at a Front Row, like Matt Tiff, Chris Buescher, John Hunter Nemechek, to name a few, they've had some Xfinity Series runs. They've had Xfinity Series runs. They've ran full-time races. Anthony Alfredo have not. He's only done part-time. He led that part-time team in RCR. Don't get me wrong, but I think he should have stayed at RCR. I get what you're saying about maybe a good thing for him going up there, maybe seeing what all happens, but I think it was too damn early. In my opinion, he should have stayed to 21 and just went had two cars in RCR along with Mike Snyder in the two, which I'm happy he got that ride, but at the same time, he's like, I don't think he was ready. I don't think he's ready. It's a good thing we got another rookie going for Rookie of the Year, but
yeah,
unless he surprises the hell out of me, there's no way. I don't see it. Sean?
Yeah, Anthony Alfredo, I believe he got rushed, and which I believe that's where you're going with that Wyatt, and somehow for Alfredo, he really shouldn't have made the move from doing part-time in Xfinity to now going into the Cup. Again, Alfredo hasn't had much time. So I think I'm not expecting really high expectations for Anthony Alfredo with Furniture Row Motorsports. I'm just going to think it's not going to be as expected than others. Taylor?
Furniture Row Motorsports.
I'm
Front
sorry.
row. Didn't you say Furniture Row?
You were right the first time.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it's front row.
No. I said Furniture Row the first time.
Mm-hmm. No, you said it the second time.
No, I said it the first time. You didn't.
No.
I said it the second time.
Future me, play this back.
If you play it back, I'm smacking you. Or I can ask somebody to come find you and then smack you.
Good luck.
Or I could just chase you down in Among Us and just get you.
I mean, it depends on what you can do. Taylor, what do you think?
Yes. Getting back on topic here. Yeah, I mean that most definitely was an interesting move there for Anthony Alfredo to go up to the Cup Series. And especially with him not really having a full-time ride in Xfinity, at least one full season going up there. So that is, I mean, it's really unknown what we're going to see with Anthony Alfredo. I mean, despite he was part-time, I mean, he did do really good in Xfinity, so who knows? Maybe he can carry some of that with him, but maybe he can have a decent season.
Hope so. Because, like, to Wyatt's point, he is right when he says he got rushed. Because as Wyatt said, he only had a limited schedule in the Xfinity series last year. Now he's going to full-time in Cup with very, very little experience in Xfinity, which, don't get me wrong, last year, as I said, he has performed really good. However, it's running an Xfinity car part-time versus running a Cup car full-time. It's not going to be the same. It just is not going to be the same. And like I hope that he does have a good year. I hope and Alfredo does have a good year in the 38. But it's really, really, really slim that he actually is, going to have like the same kind of runs as he's been getting in Xfinity, because as I said at the beginning of the show, a Cup car and an Xfinity car, as far as packages and driving wise, they're different. They're different.
And it's going to be a couple things. The first thing is, there's been another driver who ran like part-time Xfinity race and then ended up going full-time Cup. And this was just a driver who did that a couple years ago. Ryan Preece.
Yeah, Preece. Preece is another one.
Yeah, and look, and I'm not talking bad about Preece, but look at him now. He's at JTT Jewelry, which is not a bad team. They do have a win, but their finish is him and Stenhouse they haven't been good. Let's be honest here.
Honestly, this year for JTT Daughtery has just been the worst. Well, last year has just been the worst year for them. Because there have been points where Ricky Stenhouse has done well, then something's got to come along and screw him over, and then Ryan Preece, same case. He's running just fine. It looks like, they're going to get a really good finish. They get screwed over. They've had a string of last place finishes between both drivers. 4 of them, Wyatt is holding up those 4 fingers. What's that?
In a row.
In a
Four
row.
in a row.
4 in a row.
I think 3 was Priest, 1 was Stenhouse. I think it's backwards, but just point to. It was not. What are you doing?
John-
like 3.
3 to one driver and 1 to another? What?
But no, but let's be honest here. It's just like, regardless of who it was, they had 4 last place finishes in a row, and it's honestly showing that JTTR Daughtery, like, as far as their driver lineup, it's not. I mean, don't get me wrong, Stenhouse, a 2-time Xfinity Series champion in his own right, comes up to Cup and just like, he's kind of having a similar luck to what he had in his early years in NASCAR with Xfinity, where he kept wrecking cars, car after car after car after car. Then it comes up to Cup, and thinking that this is going to be like a similar year to what he had in Xfinity in the last 2 years. And then all of a sudden he wrecks. He's starting, he performs good. Don't get me wrong, he performs good. But sometimes he just races a little too aggressively, and he does get himself into situations that he shouldn't have been in. Same for Ryan Preece, but except like the different thing for Preece is that he has run really good top-notch equipment with JGR, and he's won in it before. In part-time experience, however, but he went straight to full-time at Cup, which he did fine in 2019, but then 2020 came around and it just went ugh. But 2021, it's kind of up in the air. I don't know if they're gonna have a good year. I don't know if they're gonna have a bad year. It's just gonna have to be like one way to find out, right? So
To follow up on the front row things, don't forget about the final front row driver who's doing his reappearance at the Daytona 500.
It's David Reagan.
David Reagan.
He's back.
He's back.
And let's be honest, it's good to see David Reagan back for this year. But I think what I think is going to be interesting is that 10 years ago, he had a shot to win the 500, but because of a rule infraction on a restart, he got screwed over. We come to the Daytona 500 10 years later. He's driving the same manufacturer. He's driving a similar number, except with a 3 in front of it, and he's driving for a different team for 10 years later. But he's not full-time. He's only running just the one-off for the 500. Maybe he could finally get some redemption this year. Maybe this year could be his year to win the 500 and put the whole entire NASCAR world on notice. I don't know. And it's just something that I'm thinking. But what do you guys think?
He has one in front row in a front row car. He was the only driver to win in a front row car, and that was Talladega in 2013.
Yeah.
So David Reagan is a really good driver. He's won a race in front row, and he's won Daytona.
Yeah.
If he can mix that, that would be awesome.
That would be really good. Sean, what do you think?
I'm really not thinking that David Reagan's going to perform that well. Like, don't get me wrong, he has done well before in the past, but for this being... is this like a one-off time deal for him?
It's a one-off race. He's just running Daytona. He's just running the Daytona. Anyone can win Daytona.
Yeah, even though Super Speedways is anything, like anybody has an opportunity to win, I just... by the history for Reagan in the 500, I just don't see it.
I can kind of understand that.
What do you say about this, Taylor?
Oh, that is most definitely interesting for Reagan to come back to front row. And I mean, he's done well at Daytona, and obviously pulling off that really shocking win there at Dago a few years ago. I remember that race pretty well and everything. But yeah, I mean, he most definitely is a very good restrictor plate driver, so it would not surprise me if he is up there competing for a win in the 500. Obviously he's had some bad luck on those tracks, so I mean, who knows really what's going to happen.
That's true right there. So, I got another piece of news for you. This one, I kind of expected, but also at the same time I didn't. So, as of today, January 8th, 2021, the news had come out that Santino Ferrucci is going to be running some NASCAR races starting at Miami. Yeah. He runs an IndyCar. Now he's going to be running some stock car races for Sam Hunt Racing. And I think this actually is a really, really interesting thing. Because if you go back to last year during quarantine where iRacing was really popular, Santino Ferrucci, like the latest thing that I can remember is watching a truck race. I think that was run at Kansas, where Ferrucci actually did win that race in a truck. This year, the realization that he could race in NASCAR, it's come to fruition, and he's going to be running some NASCAR races. So, any thoughts, any reactions to this? I think this actually is really cool.
Did you say he was going to be running for?
Sam Hunt.
Sam Hunt.
I think that's a 26 car.
Team just yet? Team. I don't fully know the driver all that much. In NASCAR, we've had that happen a couple times, but this is the one time I don't really even know how to respond. I mean, it's great. It's great. Don't get me wrong. It's just that's all I gotta say this time. Sean.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in between on this. Hey, that's cool that he's gonna be driving in some NASCAR races for this year. Just it was kind of unexpected. And for a lot of people, because probably somebody doesn't know him. Like I don't know him. Like this is probably the first time I heard of him at all. So. Yeah, it's kind of in between. I'm kind of having a little mixed feelings on it, but I'll see. I'm not going to take away any driving capabilities from him. Taylor?
Well, to answer your question, yes, he is going to be driving the 26 car in 20 races. So you were right on that part. But I mean, this is going to be a very interesting move coming over from a open wheel car to a stock car. I mean, this is going to be a very interesting transaction for him to get behind a different kind of car than he's used to driving. So, I mean, I think he will do decent. I mean, but obviously he's going to have to adjust to a lot of things.
And the thing is like, transitioning from an Indy car to a stock car, it's a really, really like big and sometimes difficult transition because like there are some drivers that can easily make it work. I think some drivers that have done it before. Obviously, you got Tony Stewart on that list. You've got excuse me. Let's see. What's that?
Juan Pablo Montoya's one.
Montoya is another one. You even have... I'm trying to think of another one. Gosh. Kurt Busch. He's done double duty. Let's see.
Or is hell not Patrick?
Well, you got Danica Patrick in there as well, but like...
What about Sam Hornish Jr.?
Oh yeah, Hornish. Well, you gotta put Hornish on the list. You have to. Dario Franchitti's another one. Dario Franchitti. You've got a list of drivers that have made the move from IndyCar to NASCAR, and some of them have actually done really well. Look at drivers like Tony Stewart. Look at what Kurt Busch was able to do, pulling double duty for the first time since Tony Stewart back in 2001. I honestly think that this could be a pretty interesting year for Santino Ferrucci as he joins that list of drivers that is not only raced in IndyCar, but is also making the transition to NASCAR and just kind of going back and forth between both of those worlds. Because I think driving one or the other it's a simple transition to go from IndyCar to stock car, even though I just said a few minutes ago it's a hard transition to do. But it's just hard to make it work, basically, what I'm trying to say.
Let's go point this out here, that it's going to be for the Xfinity Series, not the Cup. Not the Cup Series.
Yeah, it is for Xfinity Series. So, yeah. So, this is just for Xfinity. This is only for Xfinity. Nowhere does it say he's going to make some Cup races, which, honestly, for Sam Hunt to be a Cup team with Ferrucci in a Cup car, I don't see it. I see it more in Xfinity than I do Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So, another thing that I want to add on here, just one more, is let's talk about Spire Motorsports. They have just created a second car. They bought a charter for it, and the driver is none other than Corey LaJoie, who comes over from Go Fast Racing, who, due to funding, is going to scale back to a part-time team, a part-time schedule with some other drivers. I think maybe Dylan Lupton may be on that list, maybe Ryan Ellis. I've got no clue what their plans are. I don't think any of us have clues on what their plans are going to be as far as a driver lineup goes. But talking about Spire, they're going to have the 7 car for LaJoie. And from what I heard, they're just going to use this year just for research and try to get prepared for the next year when the Generation 7 comes out. So, with that in mind, what kind of year do you think Spire Motorsports is going to have? Do you think they're going to learn a lot to prepare for the next year? What's your guys' insight on this?
Stewart Haas, Hendricks, etc. I feel like that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
So, never know. John?
With all the things for Spire Motorsports, I don't know. Don't know what's going to happen with them this upcoming year. Hope they can do well. But I really don't know, like, on my opinion wise, what I want to think they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor?
Well, I mean, Spire's had a lot of drivers behind the wheel of her cars for the past few years. And, I mean, Corey LaJoy going over there is going to be interesting. But, you know, I mean, he did do pretty decent with Go Fast last year at times and was able to be competitive for top 20 finishes. So, I'm kind of curious to see maybe if he can do that with Spire for a few races. And who knows? I mean, he may be able to get the team up and rolling a little bit.
I definitely would think so. So, let's now move on to Kyle Busch Motorsports. We all know what kind of year that they had last year, which, let's be honest, is mediocre. It was just
Years.
It was just very, very mediocre. If not, probably one of the worst seasons of the history of Kyle Busch Motorsports. The thing is, I fully believe in Christian Eckes, and I fully believe in I had belief in Raphael Lessard. That was at the beginning of the year. And then once you kind of see what kind of year he's had, he did okay, but when you're put in a proven championship caliber truck and run like 15th and luck out by winning a plate race at Talladega, there's a problem. As far as Eckes is concerned, he did run good. He did run a really, really good year this year. The only problem is like he's been involved in incidents that were just really none of his own doing, and he's also kind of gotten screwed because of other mechanical issues with the car that's caused him to get loose and hit the wall, vice versa. But he could. I don't know if he's gonna have a better year this year. Depends on what his plans are going to be, what his plans are going to be. But you know, he had a pretty decent 2020, minus what happened at the bookend of the year when he got basically blatantly turned by Ben Rhodes at Texas, which had caused so much controversy and caused Twitter to blow up over this kind of issue. Anyways, but neither of them really performed that great. Not like Christopher Bell great, or not like Eric Jones great, not even William Byron great. But it's a problem. It's a big problem when Kyle Busch gets in a truck, basically dominates and wins for his own team. He's a cup leech, obviously, but it's for his own team, and he just dominates the thing and he wins. It's even a bigger problem when Greg Biffle, a proven veteran from the Cup Series, who has been out of a ride for the last 3 or 4 years now, he comes into the Truck Series for a one-off at Texas, and guess what? He wins. Barely holding off Matt Crafton. It's a problem. It is a problem specifically within the driver's lineup, and it's a problem because of the way that you're prepping up your drivers. Honestly, you've had other teams really step up this year, like GMS and Thor Sport. And they've really come up through the ranks. Same for Nice Motorsports and probably
Hattori.
even what's that? Hattori.
Hattori.
Yeah. Hattori's another one. All these other teams have just really come up, and I think they've just dethroned KBM. They've really dethroned them.
Two more. The new front row.
That's right. The front row motorsports.
The last year's 2 years driver of the number 4, Todd Gilliland, got in the playoff. Actually got in the playoffs on a new team. And the part-time team, I forgot the name of it, but it was Derek Krause's car, the 19.
Yeah, Derek Krause's car for Bill McElhenney.
Bill McElhenney, thank you.
Yeah. That's another team that did really well last year. Also, on top of that, there's David Gilliland Racing. It was formerly known as DGR Crossley. Now David Gilliland Racing. They've done really well last year. So the kind of year that they may have this year with Haley Deegan going full-time, which I think that's going to be pretty interesting. But also, like, what other kind of things that they're going to have. Also with all these other teams. It's going to be really interesting to see if they can still keep up like the kind of heat on KBM, because KBM over the last few years, ever since William Byron and Christopher Bell, Eric Jones, drivers like them have graduated up to Cup. Well, and Todd Gillen, who's left the KBM or was basically let go, they've kind of just really sucked.
Was to kick him. If he was adding him to like maybe the 51 going full time and bringing back the 46 for part time, I think that would be okay. At least he's still back in equipment he was okay in. But just kicking him, replacing him with Chandler Smith, and then you got, my personal opinion, the stupidest move, having John Hunter Nemechek doing really good as rookie year in the Cup Series, right back into Truck Series at Kyle Busch in the 4. I'm just questioning Kyle Busch Motorsports right now. It's a damn good thing that today was also that on. Today, Rafael Lessard was announced that he was full-time at GMS as well. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Sean, what do you think?
From how it went from, let's say, 4 or 5 seasons ago for Kyle Busch Motorsports to last season, it went down pretty bad. And even with the whole driver changes that they had during the off season, I don't think I'm seeing any improvement with Kyle Busch Motorsports at all. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Taylor?
Well, I mean, KBM has most definitely been underperforming, and I think John Hunter Nemechek could maybe kind of relight their fire a little bit, maybe, especially with the kind of talent that John Hunter has. But most definitely, I mean, they need to improve some things over there at KBM for sure.
And you do bring up a pretty good point, Taylor, because there are some pros and cons to John Nemechek going to KBM. The cons, he's downgraded it back to the Truck Series. The pros, this could help the team. John Nemechek has raced a few years in trucks ever since part-time in 2014, a little bit of 2015, then full-time in 16, then 17, and ran basically once again probably a full schedule in 18, and some races in 19, some last year. It's kind of like his comfort zone, where, like, I guess you could say like a truck and a cup car, with the difference of like a little bit of handling. In some ways are similar, because in some tracks with the truck and also cup, you get to hold the throttle down wide open all the way around the racetrack and kind of feather the throttle just a little bit and feather the brake at the same time. I don't know, but for John Nemechek's case, this could help him kind of get back to where he was at with the choice of going to Kyle Busch Motorsports. It's kind of 50-50 right now, but we won't know what kind of year they'll have until the season starts on February 12th for the Truck Series. We're just going to have to wait and see.
Just stop trying to kick drivers who are not really performing all that well. Like, Rafael Lessard I kind of got, but just Christian Eckes? Come on.
Right.
At least put Taylor Smith in the 4. Just like, why did you have to kick Eckes? That's my concern. Just like, they did the same thing with Todd Gill, and I think there was one more that did too, or did Christian Eckes stay? I don't remember.
I can't remember, honestly.
There was another driver they did that to who drove the 18 back in 2019. I just don't remember on top of my head.
They did that to Harrison Burton.
Oh yeah, Harrison Burton. That's right. Well, Harrison Burton,
even though he moved up, he
moved up.
And massively improved.
Burton moved up, and he was either awesome. He got 4 wins, and especially that crazy Texas finish.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is, these guys just I don't know what to say about all this. This is just all this is stupid.
It is. It honestly is. But like I said, as far as what the performance is going to be like this time with John Hunter Nemechek behind the wheel of the 4 truck this year, and Chandler Smith getting a full-time shot, and who's going to be in the 51 for like the select amount of races throughout the year, we're just going to have to wait and see. Yeah. Okay. So now, the last thing. We're down to the last thing. And this is kind of the main event. We're going to talk about Hendrick Motorsports this year. So let's give you I'm going to give you guys a full rundown on the driver's lineup and what kind of year that they had. You have William Byron, who's returning to the 24 car, who came off of a probably best year of his Cup career last year by finally getting a Cup win at Daytona. You've got Alex Bowman, who drove the 88 and had himself a pretty good year. Juan Fontana basically dominated the thing. He goes from the 88 and takes the seat of the 7-time champion Jimmy Johnson, who has retired and has moved on to racing road courses in the IndyCar series. You got Chase Elliott, who in his 5th year in Cup competition, his 5th full year in Cup competition, gets 5 wins and wins the championship last year, this previous year. Comes in as the defending Cup champion. And then you got Kyle Larson. After all that he's been through last year, from letting a racial slur slip on an iRacing live stream to having sponsors let go of their partnership with him, his team, Chip Ganassi Racing, firing him, his partnership with Chevrolet at the time terminated in Cup. He was basically kind of like screened off from everything, with the exception of World of Outlaws that believed in him, that believed in his second chance, and they still let him race. But NASCAR, on the other hand, they went, you have to complete some sensitivity training if you want to come back. Sure enough, he goes into sensitivity training. As of October, he had completed it. He was officially reinstated, and a couple years later, or not years, but weeks, signs on to Hendrick Motorsports to drive the number 5 for this year. And as of last week, January 1st, 2021, well, 2 weeks now, at the time that this is premiering, it's official. He is back in NASCAR. So, with this driver lineup, with all that this team has been through the last year, and what they're gonna have, what kind of year they're gonna have this time with Larson joining the lineup, what do you guys think? What kind of year will 2021 hold for Hendrick Motorsports?
What get this out of the way. Byron's having Byron's season. I'm not sure he's going. And Elliott. Most likely Elliott in the beginning, at the top guy. I'm not sure about Larson. Excuse me, but Larson has not been in a cup car in like almost a full year, and since March, right? And that is a big deal. I say that because a driver I can name on top of my head. What's up?
Stapleton.
What's up, Stapleton? Anyways, I say this on top of my head. He has the Vincent March, like you said, but like Kenseth, example. Kenseth was out for like a full year, and then he came back part time. He was not the best. So I still think it's going to be Elliott and Larson being the top two, but Larson's not going. He may get a win. He may at least get one win, surprise all of us. But it's going to be just like a regular Hendricks, but it's going to be Elliott at the top.
Yeah,
maybe going for his second championship. Sean,
I see going down the line with Elliott probably being the main guy that's going to be leading Hendrick. I agree with that line. I would be surprised. I would think Bowen may get another win, maybe at another track. Who knows? He might do that. Byron might maybe improve. He might improve. And maybe get a win at a different sort of track than a super speedway. Who knows? But then Larson's kind of that wild card sort of factor. He's gonna bring something that we wouldn't have seen from all the other three Hendrick guys. So, and with how everything was with him last year, but I think Larson could get a win at one of these several tracks. But when it may happen, who knows?
Yeah.
Taylor? It may end up being the dirt Bristol race, honestly.
That's the highest chance.
Probably. What do you think, Taylor?
I mean, Hendrick most definitely pulled off a very big upset winning the championship last year. Which that was pretty awesome to see Chase win that. But, I think Hendrick is going to be able to have a good year. I think they are going to be pretty competitive this year. And, I mean, who knows? All four of their drivers could win a race. And, Larson coming back, I mean, we really don't know about him because he's been on the car for about a year. So, I mean, you really don't know what you're going to see with Hendrick, but I do think they will have a pretty good year and be very competitive.
And let's get Mr. Nathan Stapleton's thoughts on this.
Oh, you want my thoughts? Okay. So here's one thing. I think Chase is going to dominate again. I think not really dominate, but be the leader of Chevy. I think Chase is probably going to get at least 5 wins again. Next year at least. Bowman could sneak a win. Bowman could sneak a win. And now for my boy Lawson, I want to say that he will be like Elliott, but I don't think he will be right away. I think he might be able to get a couple of wins, but I don't think he's gonna be like Elliott right off the gate. But I think this is my prediction. I'm probably gonna be wrong, but I think Lawson will make it to the round of 8 at least. Oh, at the most, round of 8. I don't think he will make it to the round of 4, but I think Lawson will make it to the round of 8. Because we've seen of how consistent he's been in the past in a Chip Ganassi color, and that's not really the best color. So I think he could do just about the same as he did in that 42, or maybe even a little bit better.
Yeah. So, the thing is for Larson is that it's good to see him back. I've already said that. But some people may think, oh no, since he's not going to have any sponsors, he may not have any primary sponsors or secondary, even though like there was a picture of his trailer getting leaked onto the internet with like the Valvoline stickers on there. It may not necessarily mean that Valvoline is going to be the primary sponsor for Kyle Larson. Let's just get that out of the way. The thing is for Larson, he may not have sponsorship right now, like confirmed sponsorship. But they're not, that doesn't mean they're going to sandbag his car and make him run like 25th or 30th or whatever. That's just not what Hendrick Motorsports is going to do. They're going to give Kyle Larson the best equipment that he will ever have in his Cup career. Chip Ganassi was a pretty good team, but Larson, in my opinion, made it better because of what his raw talent has been able to do in the Chip Ganassi car. Now he's with Hendrick Motorsports, which is kind of like on the same level as Ganassi, but just by a skosh. Definitely not by a skosh, but by just a lot, is better than Ganassi. No disrespect to Ganassi, by the way. But as far as the year that Larson is going to have this year, he's probably going to have just like a same kind of Kyle Larson year that you would always see. If not, he might have a better year because of the fact that he is with Hendrick. He is with some really good equipment, and he could go places with it.
This is what I would like. This is my comparison for Chip Ganassi and Hendrick. Chip Ganassi is like a B+ team, and Larson made a team, but Hendrick is like an A- or A team.
Yeah.
So, I agree with what you said. Larson made that 42 car way better than what it actually is. Because before that, with Montoya, it was just mid-pack-ish.
It kind of was meh. It depended. It was kind of, with Montoya behind the wheel of the 42, it was kind of just a roller coaster. It depended on how he performed.
Yeah, 1 year he was good, 1 year he was 1 year he was good, 1 year he was So, like, I just feel like 2019 was probably one of the best years for Chip Ganassi, like, with Kurt Busch and Larson. But still, to me, Chip Ganassi, they're not a bad team. They're a race-winning team, but they're not championship material team. Mm-hmm. And, like, a B+ team. And then, of course, Hendrick, they're probably one of the best teams ever. Mm-hmm. Not right now, but they're still like an A team. So I'm looking forward to next year. Well, this year for Larson. And for Hendrick.
And speaking of Chip Ganassi there.
Ganassi. So I was actually thinking about this. I almost forgot. But Ross Chastain, he made it. He made it to the Cup Series full time, driving for Chip Ganassi Racing. This was supposed to happen in Xfinity, but due to the little DC solar scandal that kind of screwed him over, he's made it. And I got to be honest, Ross Chastain has done super well over the years, because like Chastain, in my honest opinion, shows what a hard-working man really is. He came into NASCAR like right around 2011 in the Truck Series. He made a few starts for some smaller teams. He went full-time for, I think it was SS Greenlight Racing in 2012, driving an 08 truck, just basically for that team. Then 13, he went part-time with Brad Keselowski Racing. Then he made some truck starts in 14. 2015, he goes to the Xfinity Series full-time, even though he did make some starts in Xfinity back in 2014. It actually fared pretty well in him. But then in 2015, he went full-time in Xfinity for JD Motorsports. He was there for a few years. Then he went to Chip Ganassi for a little bit, just for 3 races in 18. He won one of those races, which was spectacular. While also at the same time balancing a mostly full-time Cup team, even though he never declared for points in Cup. Then 2019, he runs in all 3 series. Then later declares points for trucks, nearly wins the title. He comes back to Xfinity full-time. Last year, he was winless, but he still ran pretty good. But now this year, he's made it. He made it to the big stage, full-time. And he's made it with a pretty good team. So, is 2021 going to be the year that Ross Chastain is finally going to show the Cup guys what he can really do?
Say this. He has, like you said, he's run some part-time races. He's done it with like different teams and stuff. I'd say like different like small-time teams did like some part-time, but maybe learn from like those races till he get full-time. And he's now full-time, which I don't think it's a rookie year. I'm not sure if he's going to get rookie stripes or not. It wouldn't surprise me if he don't.
Yeah.
But just he's a good driver. I've been following him a little bit. He did awesome in 2020 and 10. He didn't get a win, unfortunately, but he ran up there consistent. Did good for the 2 out of 3 cars at Collie. He may get a win in the Cup Series. He may end up getting a win. It's a stretch, but it would not surprise me if he does.
Yeah.
Sean?
I'm not seeing high expectations for Ross Chastain. And don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong here. He's a good driver. I respect the guy's work. He's worked very hard to get where he's at. I just don't see him just coming into the Cup Series and just showing them for like this year what he's like. Just again, not to say that he's going to improve it right off the bat. I want to say wait about a couple seasons, then he's going to prove something. Then he'll show like, hey, this is how you do it right. But for right now, I wouldn't be surprised if he had a really good season. Had a couple of top 5s, a couple of top 10s, maybe, and see if he can improve from this year on to next year.
Alrighty.
Taylor?
What you doing over there, Taylor?
Well, I mean, most definitely it's going to be good to see Chastain up there in Cup. Finally full-time with a really good team. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how he does up there in Cup, especially with the kind of equipment that he's going to have with Chip Ganassi instead of somebody like Spire Motorsports or a low-funded team like that. I mean, I think he could really get up there and tear the track up after a few races once he adjusts to that Cup car enough. And, I mean, he could really just go out there and just tear the track up. And win a lot of races. I mean, who knows what really he's going to do, but I think he's going to have a pretty good season.
Nathan, go for it.
I'm just gonna. Okay, so I'm gonna use the same logic that I did with Lawson and both Chip Ganassi and Hendrick thing. Chip Ganassi's good. They're not the best, but they're good. I feel like Chastain has the same talent as Kurt Busch, maybe a little bit more. So I feel like most likely, I feel like both Chip Ganassi cars could make the playoffs, either wins or being consistent. I honestly feel like Chastain is going to have a very similar like season to what Kurt Busch has been doing in that one car. Maybe just a tad bit better, but I think as a Chip Ganassi is going to be pretty much the same with both cars this season, I think.
It's going to be interesting because, like, let's be honest. With like, let's just specifically review the 2010 decade, because like actually ever since Chip Ganassi Racing came in to NASCAR and the Cup Series, they did fine. They did okay over the years, and they've managed to get by up till now, like as of present day. And they've managed to have some really good drivers on their side. They've had guys like Sterling Marlin on the team. They've even had, I think, Kyle Petty on the team. They've even had Jimmy Spencer. You've even had Reed Sorensen, who honestly, in my opinion, should have done really well in the 41, but just unfortunately was let go, and vice versa. Anyways, you even had Jamie McMurray behind the wheel. You even had Truex behind the wheel. He even got a 1 win for that team. And, well, that was for DEI. Never mind. My bad. Anyways, either way, he eventually was with Ganassi. He was with Ganassi at one point when it was a merger between Earnhardt and Ganassi, therefore EGR. You even had Montoya, who to Nathan's point was he had a good year here, he had a bad year, he had a good year, he had a bad year. He just had a kind of like a roller coaster Cup career, if you know what I mean.
He did.
Then you get
wins.
What's that?
He did get a couple wins.
2 road courses, Sonoma and Watkins Glen. So he did for what Montoya was able to do for the team. He actually did. He did good. He did good. Not gonna say he did great, but he did good. He even came close to winning at Atlanta one time in 2010, and also winning Dover 2013, and even Richmond the same year. He came close, but just wasn't. It just so close, but yet so far away at the same time. Then you got Kyle Larson, who did really well for the team. It even kind of elevated the team a little bit. McMurray, as good as he was like over the last what was almost 10 years that he was with the team, or in combined, because he was with the team in 2002, a little bit of the last part of 02, full time in 03 and 04, and was even there, and even there was 05, so like 4 years plus 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, so 13 years or something like that he's been with the team. He's done okay. Not going to say he did spectacular, but he did okay. He even won the Daytona 500 and he even won the All-Star race. He's won the Brickyard 400. He did okay.
Yeah, pretty much for Miller, his best year was, I believe, 2010. Really won all 3 of those things.
Yeah.
So.
You say like. He was doing full time for Spinway. I don't think he was at like Championship till like later on doing full time, but I think he did like full time races with Brown Spinway.
Yeah, once
he raced to 26.
Yeah, that was he started racing for the team in 2006.
Yeah, 3 years with Welsh, and then besides that, I'm pretty sure.
He went back to Ganassi.
Oh.
But focusing back in, then McMurray leaves. Kurt Busch comes in. The team still is doing good with Kurt Busch. They even did fine with Kyle Larson for all of 2019 that year, and also for a little bit of 2020. Then Matt Kenseth came along, and it's just like he did fine. Kenseth did okay, but it was just trying to get used to the package, and he didn't have a year that I think a lot of us kind of expected him to, kind of like expected for him, but he did okay for what he was able to do. Now you got Ross Chastain behind the wheel. It's kind of up in the air. 50-50 that he'll have like a spectacular year or a decent year or a bad year. We're just going to have to wait and see. So, I guess that's going to wrap up the show. So, with that being said, thank you guys a lot for watching episode 1 of the NASCAR Pit Stop Show. If you guys liked it, be sure to give it a like. If you have not considered subscribing yet, I recommend you do so to keep up with some fine content coming out in the near future. We should be back next week, roughly around the same time, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. So it's gonna be a good one. So thank you guys a lot for watching. On behalf of Zachary Taylor, who just hit his camera with his phone, Sean Ard, Wyatt Walker, and Nathan Stapleton, I'm Elijah Leonard signing out, and I'll see you on the next one.